Hey, it's Kley. Welcome to another video. Today, I want to take a look at a couple of VST plugins. They're from Mercuriall Audio. First one is the BST-7 bass amp. Second one is the A-Mega overdrive and distortion pedal. If you're curious about those, stick around. Let's dive in. All right, so a little bit about these plugins. First of all, on the bass amp, it's modeled after an old Ampeg SVT-7 Pro amplifier. Now, this Ampeg amp is very interesting. I actually did a little bit of a digging into it to try to understand the circuit. I like to build and design guitar amplifiers as well, and so I was very curious to see what kind of amp this would be. And it's an interesting amp because it contains a 12x7 preamp tube, so it's going to give you some of that tubey, warm goodness in the preamp section where a lot of the tone shaping occurs. But then it also pairs that with a lot of modern features. The EQ and the tone stack is very advanced and contains both a high and low boost. It contains a mid-range bass, middle, treble, and then the mid-range also has parametrics. So you can actually shift the EQ point of the mid-range control. So that really gives you a ton of EQ options to dial in just about any type of tone you could want to do on this bass amp. It also has a Class D output section, so it's a solid state output section. It's going to be very, very high headroom, very clean, very solid reproduction. So a lot of the tone shaping's done in the preamp, and then the power amp just exists to reproduce that accurately and faithfully. And so this VST plugin seeks to copy and emulate that here in a bass plugin. Then the A-Mega overdrive distortion pedal is actually based on the Dark Glass Alpha Omega overdrive distortion pedal. This is very interesting because it's a very flexible and versatile pedal. It contains a lot of really cool features. It's got some straightforward stuff like volume, gain, bass, middle, treble. You know, having a 3-band EQ on an overdrive pedal is really nice, but it also contains some secret sauce. It's got this mod control where you can shift between the alpha and the omega circuits to get two very different types of characters of distortion tone. It also contains kind of a high presence kick, and then this growl control, which to my ear kind of gives it this kind of fuzzy and just kind of changes the nature of the distortion as well. And then the last feature that's really neat, especially for bass, is it's got a blend control. So you can dial in a bunch of gain, but then use the blend control to bring back some of that dry, clean tone to really help with the pick attack and the transient, while you're also layering on the distortion for the crunch. So you can kind of get the best of both worlds. And so I found that this is a really cool pedal, VST plugin pedal, and I'm actually really excited to use it both on guitar and on bass. I think it would sound great in a wide variety of situations. So let's go ahead and dive into some tones. All right, this first clip, I basically set the bass amp up. I'm using my P-Bass clone, going direct into a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. I'm using Reaper as my DAW, and I just loaded up the amp pretty much with everything at noon. I did change the level of the compressor that's built into the front of the amp, so it just kind of provided some very gentle compression. So this is just kind of a bass clean tone of what you'd work with everything at 12 o'clock. Now for the second clip, it got a little more of a livelier drum pattern I wanted to pair with, so I put the high and low boosts on to really kind of scoop things out and give a lot of more of a modern bass tone. And you know, so I thought that would pair really well with this kind of a funkier, upbeat type track. Okay, next I wanted to turn on the drive pedal. And while the amp is certainly more of a clean bass platform, the drive pedal can take it into some gnarly territory. So let's hear some tones where we're using the drive pedal to really get some higher gain options. Then lastly, I wanted to give you a little tour of the amp as I'm just playing through all the different options, turning knobs, seeing how it affects the tone. So let's just kind of give a general picture of the amp at this time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the tone clips. Certainly let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. My opinion on this plugin is as follows. First of all, I think this plugin sounds really good. This Ampeg amp definitely serves as more of a clean platform, but what I liked about it is it just kind of was set and forget, meaning I could plug a cable in, get a good level on my audio interface, and then just kind of set everything at noon, and it sounded really good right out of the box. I didn't have to do a lot of fiddling. Sometimes with this kind of direct setup, you really can get some pretty terrible tones if things aren't set up correctly, but this one was very forgiving, and I thought it just provided a really nice, instant, easy access bass tone. And one of my purposes with this really is if I'm sitting down, I've got a creative idea, and I want to get it down into my DAW, to be able to just set a preset with this and hit record and get some immediate inspiration is really valuable to me. And that's kind of one of the main benefits of this setup. When you've got a direct DI type setup, you're wanting to get ideas down for recording. And to me, when you're looking at this kind of setup, especially when you've got a VST plugin in a DAW, it's really about that recording process and making it as easy as possible. There are a lot of modelers out there that are hardware modelers, but to haul those things out, plug in the power supply, connect everything up, it's just an extra step. So for me, this setup offers quite a bit more flexibility. It's also really nice too because there's so much EQ on this amp, on this bass amp, if your initial take isn't exactly what you love, you can always come back later and change some of the settings and really dial it in. So from a mixing perspective, this is a real value, just because I'm able to, even if my first take wasn't the right tone for the full track, as the track evolves and I add more layers to it, I can always come back and really set it up in a way that I really like. Some of the shortcomings of this plugin, I felt like the higher gain stuff didn't really knock my socks off. You really need the alpha omega pedal to get some nice, pleasing, crunchy distortion tones. Even though the preamp circuit of the real amp does have a 12AX7, I just thought this amp was much more of a clean bass amp. In honesty, that's how I tend to use it, and so I'm going to be fine with that. But if you're really somebody that wants to push and get kind of a higher crunch, a real tubey type distortion, you need the pedal to push the input. The amp itself didn't have a huge amount of gain on its own, so certainly was designated more for those cleaner tones. And I did mention, how this compares with physical hardware modelers. And you really do have to think about that. And I think maybe the biggest thing I think about there is the value proposition. there is so much out there right now in terms of amp modeling, and so it's just a tough space to compete. And so, if this plugin costs maybe $50 or so, you can buy a hardware modeler for not much more than that. I think of maybe a Tonex thing, or maybe even some of the other, some of the neural amp modelers are starting to make their way into some lower end stuff. I think maybe Vailton does one of those. So, to compete with that, this thing really has to deliver. But again, I really think that the benefit of the VST plugin is still there. And even in 2025, with all the advancements of technology, just the workflow of having a VST really does present some value. So for me, this is a win, and I'm definitely going to use this thing. And again, if you're looking for, as a musician, a multi-instrumentalist, to just sit down, plug your bass in, get some easy, solid, stable, clean tones for a variety of genres, I think this bass amp does an awesome job of that. So hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. See you again soon. Thanks. Bye.